This is for May 8th, 2013. Wasn't able to post last night, so I'll kind of go over what I did yesterday and today as well. Some good opportunities. It's a very slow moving market, so you really had to have patience and just hold on once you got in a position. Um, but there's definitely some opportunity. Yesterday, my game plan was basically this trading range here that I'd framed out was kind of key for me and trying to figure out what was going to happen. And I was on the bullish side. I wasn't really anticipating really wanting to go short. However, I did end up taking a short, and I kind of passed on the long opportunity. Was on the higher time frame. 9,000 put in a really nice 310 oscillator trade here. I like to confirm these trades with the trend on the higher time frame. Kind of very rudimentary momentum type thing, but if the 20 period EMA is going straight up like it was here, and we come down and touch it, um, that's a great place to go long generally, especially when you have such a strong uh, rate of incline here. It's close to 45-degree angle. So in hindsight, I really should have focused more on the larger time frame. Generally, the larger time frame is going to win out anyways, and you're going to get your bigger trades. But I made the mistake of going against my plan and taking a short, um, shorted around the close of this bar. So I did get stopped out for a relatively small trade. To give myself credit, it looked pretty good on this time frame. You rejected yesterday's high here. It was actually an axis line. We broke above it, tested, went up. I was kind of anticipating maybe buying the support level, but we never held. Went straight down through. So lots of supply. Thought it was worth a shot, um, and got taken out. Luckily, I had another opportunity to get long. There was another 310 oscillator buy here, confirming that higher low trade on the 9,000, and so I did get long, made up for that trade. This is where it pays to really stick to your game plan. Um, I should have just kept my eye on the ball. I would have done much better. Probably would have gotten, ooh, that's like a 7 point trade as opposed to making maybe three on one and losing a point and a half on the other. So, um, kind of a disappointment, but you learn and move on. The next day, I was kind of anticipating, that we either consolidate or maybe continue our upward trend. I wasn't really interested in shorting. Um, so in the morning, we had a spring down here. We had multiple bullish bars right in this area, so it really gave you good reason to take a long there. I did take a long on the spring, but I did enter it a little late. So when I had a couple negative bars here, I went ahead and scratched the trade, um, mostly because we did have a rejection of yesterday's high, and so it looked like a little bit of an up thrust, and I didn't want to take the chance of the market coming down through here, and it was anything can happen in the market, so I had to go with what the price bars were telling me. Um, However, once we had these two bullish bars here and this bar closed, I decided to put in a trade. Slipped a little bit on my entry. I ended up getting on the close of this bar around 16.20 and a quarter, and just sat in it for the whole afternoon, till the until lunch session, and it was about a 3 hour trade. But in this market, you really have to hold on to these trades to make any kind of money. Got about 6 points on that trade. Um, Exited right in here, and for many reasons. Uh, Number one, we had tick divergence. Pull up the chart so you can see it. It was pretty obvious tick divergence. You can see price was going up and tick was trending down. And I gave it a little room because sometimes it's not always the best thing in the world. But once I also consulted my higher time frame chart, let's see if we get this thing up here. The chart's is acting a little funky. We were overbought in this trend channel, and we had a no demand on the Weiss wave, and that's when I decided to cover it. I gave it as much space as I could, just because I figured it could go higher. You never know. But once I got one, two, three bearish bars in a row, and I had all the other things going pointing in the direction that we'd probably get a pullback. I just took my profits there and got about 6 points on the run. We did get a second opportunity to go long in the day, and actually would have gave us the greatest amount of gains in the shortest amount of time. 310 oscillator trade. I had a little key reversal bar here. I have a little code that looks for the setup, and then whenever there's a key reversal bar, it paints it either green or red. And so we had a nice little bar to go along there. I saw it setting up. I just decided not to take it because I didn't like this ease of movement and coming from an overbought condition. But we were above support, and it was a stair-stepping action. Probably should have taken it. Best case 4 points, worst case 3 points on that trade. Anyways, for tomorrow, we are overbought currently. So, and coming from an overbought condition, and so I wouldn't be completely surprised if we come down and test yesterday's highs, or the 7th of the 7th. I wouldn't be surprised if we come down there and test again. If we break through that, we might get a sequence for potential change in trend on this time frame. However, again, that same level I've been looking at for a while is where I'd look for a pullback to stop, which is probably around 1593, 1594, 5.5 range. But we are overbought, but we're hugging the trend channel. So a lot of times when you hug a trend channel like this, you tend to get a continuation in trend. If you want to see bearish reaction up here, you generally see kind of what happened here with a quick pullback. You want to see some reaction fairly quickly after going to an overbought level. So if we hold at an overbought level for a long period of time, a lot of times it'll just continue higher, I noticed. Anyway, so that's my game plan for tomorrow. I mean, it's a trending market. So if I get a 310 oscillator buy on the 9,000, I'll probably take it again. If I do short it, it'll be a very quick trade to maybe 1622 at the most. If we break through that, then bets are off. We could go have a larger pullback, which we'll probably do for one on the daily chart. Want to show you guys a stock of interest that I purchased last week, a week before, a couple weeks back. I'll start showing you more of these things as I'm getting in them live, but it was such a cool looking chart. I don't want to come across I'm just bragging and have a good trade, but I thought it'd be beneficial for everyone to take a look at this chart because some good concepts here, pretty obvious concepts. What I saw on this particular chart is a typical change in sequence for a change in trend, which I kind of went over in the webinar I did, but pretty basic sequence. You have a trend usually going in the opposite direction of where you want to take the trade. This was a downtrend, some shortening of the thrust showing that buying is coming in this area, and we get a change of behavior. And sometimes we get a pullback and it quickly rallies up. Sometimes we go into a period of consolidation and we come down and test this level a number of times before we turn up. Well, we came down, didn't get to the low of it, but tested it once, twice, third time came down, and we're getting a spring. And I actually bought it around 923, which is right in here. Nice little spring of this support level. Got lucky, had a good reaction to the upside. Obviously, my first target is for us to get above the creek here at around 1161. I got a really small position. It's not a big position, just to kind of keep my attention. But I'll definitely look to add on if this thing continues higher. That SCIF was the India Small Cap Fund. Here's another one is RSX, which is Russia. These are all foreign markets. So it's kind of interesting to see how this one looks a lot like India as well. This one's a little bit, I actually kind of like the look of this one a little bit better on the weekly chart. Have a good sell-off, buying, stepped in here. We've come down and tested it numerous times. And now we're getting a spring, which is one of my favorite trade setups now that I know how to trade them a little better. And this was a very much a textbook spring when it comes to looking at volume. As you can see here, volume is low here, relative to the area in which it's springing, which is, see this very high volume bar. Um, and not only is the volume piece of this perfect, but when you see springs in areas of accumulation or ease of, or like say an up thrust here, you have an up thrust here in an area of ease of downward movement. As you can see, this down move here, lots of ease of movement, and we get an up thrust within that area. You know, that's where sellers have been. Those are generally the best ones. Here's another spring here, and this is an area where a trend had stopped before, pretty sharp trend down, so it gives it more validity. So this is happening in that same area, and then you have a low volume spring where there was high volume. So it's giving this one a lot of potential to move to the upside. I have a considerably bigger position in this than I did in my other trade. I bought this, bought it I think the opening of last week, right in here. Once we had closed this bar, I bought it on Monday. But perfect example of spring in action. Hopefully this one has a good move. Now obviously those familiar with Wyckoff know that we're going to look for a jump across the creek and then a test of the creek to get long. So if I'm so lucky that we get some ease of movement up through here, I'll look to add on if we come down and test this level once we break through it. If we up thrust up here and it's looking weak, I'll probably take my profits. But I'll wait and see where the bars close and how they behave before I do anything. But anyways, those are the two stocks I'm in now. One stock I'm keeping a close eye on is Walmart. This one has really strong fundamentals. It has been a very strong stock. It's, as you can tell, the trend on the weekly chart is very strong. 45-degree angle on the EMA. We're breaking above resistance, and you see each bar is very bullish and holding above this level of resistance. Very strong. Two, a very powerful trade pattern is that I'm reading and learning more about in Dave Weiss's book are these these tight kind of pendants. We're kind of coming to a point of equilibrium. And I mean, it could easily drop down as much as it can go up, but given some of the technical strength and the strong fundamentals, I think there's a good chance we could break to the upside on this. Only thing that I don't like about it is relative to the S&Ps, Walmart is very weak. So that's one reason I haven't jumped on board with it yet. I kind of want to see it resolve this wedge pattern here to the upside. But that's what I'm looking for. You know, I missed, not that I wasn't, can't say I missed it. I wasn't really watching it at the time. But as you can see, it does very well with the 310 oscillator, trades very well with it. As you can see here, we have a nice little trade here. Would have been great to get in, especially given this area consolidation we broke out of. If you look at the monthly chart on this, I don't have it readily available, but there's a 310 oscillator buy setup for this, and everything technically was strong and pointing up. So very strong stock. I'm going to keep a close eye on it, and if we start breaking out of this pattern, I'll definitely look to go long. It looks to me like it's absorbing, though it's not under the resistance. I don't know if you'd call this absorption, but it's definitely doing something. It looks like it's getting ready to move, and my guess is to the upside. So anyways, that's enough for today, and hope you all have good trading tomorrow. Take care.